So they have other one. The response is the one you want. Okay. So everyone follows what's going on?
So the higher this number, the better?
No, so this number is as a baseline. Basically, you want to say this is a typical case. In a typical case, the chance of you having a bug is 0.39. Okay? Now, let's alter this typical case to double the size and see what's the chance of having a bug. Okay, so now we do this, right? We double the size. So it's, instead of mean size, we say mean size times 2. Right? Then we do another prediction. You see, the chance increases, right? That means if you double the size of a typical case, your chance of having a bug increases from 3.9 to 4.4. Okay? Then you do another one. Then you say, oh, well, you have to revert it back, right? Then you say, oh, what if the voters' ownership increase to double? Then you double this. Then you do a predict. And you say, oh, the voters' ownership goes up. Your predicted value goes down by a lot.
It means inverse correlation.
Yes. And the more important thing is the scale. You see, if you double the size, your chance of having a bug only increases by 5%. Right? But if you double the ownership of the file, your chance of having a bug decreases almost half. You see, from 3.9 to 2.1, right? You decrease a lot. That means your file ownership actually plays a big role on the output. So if you remember this, ownership actually has a very small deviance. Right? The deviance is 2, right? Remember? So here, right? We say, oh, the ownership is only 2. So that means if you don't have a voter ownership, your model fit won't change much. You still have a very good model. However, if you use that model to predict the output, it actually change a lot. Make sense? Okay. So if you want to check another one, then you say, oh, what's the impact of let's say what's the impact of little discussion? So let's if the little discussion, if we times 2, right? So if the little discussion value is double, what will happen, right? So little discussion here you times 2, then you do a predict. Yeah. So it has lower, right? So the more, that means the more little discussion, you have a lower chance of having bug. Yeah. Basically, this is the way you know the influence of a metric to model output. Because this predict is basically the model output. Okay? Everyone following me? So I can go around this one again if you, because this is a little bit confusing. Yes?
So the ownership thing, basically if we have more files with the same owner, the probability decreases by half. That's how
Yes,
we translate it.
yes, yes. By 20%.
Okay.
From 40% to 20%. Well, half of what? Half of original.
Right.
Yeah. Everyone understands what's going on? You can do this calculation in the exam. Okay, I hope. Okay. No, if you have questions, ask it now. Okay, so basically this is trying to answer what's each matrix influence on model output. Okay, so what we do is basically we actually calculate the model output. And we actually see what's the model output if we change a matrix value to double. Right? So first, for every metric, we only take the average value. Then we know what model output. Right? Then we change one matrix value to double. but keeping other metrics the same. Now we see what's the difference of model outputs. Then we know the influence of that metric on the model output. Another metric we do again, yes.
Well, the result different if you not multiply by 2, but multiply by 1.1 or
Yes, of course.
3.
It may be different. Depends on whether your data is the distribution of the data.
So the factor 2 decided maybe different results. For example,
So,
this
yeah.
metric is most important if you multiply by 2.
Yeah.
But you got another result if you multiply, say.
Yeah, but in my experience, it won't change the order. So normally it won't be a case that this metric is very, very important when you multiply by 2, but not important when you multiply by 1.1. Because you have a linear model. Right? If you have a linear model, that means all the model output is linearly influenced by your input, right?
And can it depend to the normalization algorithm that we are using? For example, this number of confidence.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, can it change our conclusion here?
The normalization,
Yeah.
barely, because you do not change the order of everything, right? You just compress them to a closer distance. So we finish question 3, right? Yes.
When we double each matrix,
Yeah.
and the value sometimes goes up, sometimes goes down.
Yeah.
Which means, if it goes up means that value will be influenced a lot or not.
Okay, so the goes up, that means if your value increase, the model's output will increase. It goes down, that means if your value goes up, increase, the model's output decrease. For example, higher lines of code means more bugs, right? On the other hand, higher experience means low bug, right? So when you want to measure the influence, you want to take the absolute value. Questions? Are we all good? Okay.
So,
Yes.
what are the 5 output?
Top 5. Oh, then you just have to do like 1 by 1.
Yeah.
Then remember the number. Then say, hey, this is the top 5.
Compare with the base.
So, we have to take higher value or lower value for this?
High, top 5, right? So top 5 meaning high, the highest 5. Okay.
No, I mean, I think that we need to compare with the baseline and then see like out of this comparison, like the division between the value and the baseline, and then you solve it.
Yeah, you always compare with the baseline. So the baseline is basically the one that everything is the median, is the average value. So on average, your chance is 40%. Right? So this is basically this one size, right? So everything is average, then the chance of having a bug is 39%. If you double your data size to, if you double data size, keep everything else the same, then your chance is 45%. If you double your ownership, keep everything the same, your chance is 21%. So you always compare with your baseline, right? So this basically says if you double the data size, you increase 5% from the data from a baseline. This one says if you double your ownership, you decrease 20% from the baseline. Yes.
So decrease value we have to remove that?
No, decreases means higher ownership, lower chance of having bug.
So we should not consider it as an audio output.
You should. But it just means that the more ownership the less you are going to have a bug.
So the higher the difference between what we calculate.
Yes.
So we should calculate the absolute value.
The absolute value,
Yeah.
yes.
The higher the difference between the values that we for the baseline, that's the value.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so the higher the temperature, the less chance to snow. Is temperature important to snow? Yes, but it's a revert impact. So higher temperature, low chance of snow. This is higher ownership, low chance of having bug.
So for two vectors, we should choose the second one, right?
The
The first one and the bigger one. So
no, okay, so this one tells you the first one's influence. The first one's influence is 0.5. The second one's influence is 0.2. So the first one's influence is this value minus by this value. The second one's influence is this value minus by this value.
So then we compare the absolute
Yeah,
value and
yeah.
we choose the bigger one, right?
Yeah, choose the big one. Yeah. So because I asked you top 5, right? Then you give me top 5. Questions? Okay. All right. Last question. Okay. So how well can you predict post-release bugs? Okay. So now we're talking about prediction. So what do we do for prediction? Precision recall, right? So precision recall. Can you do precision recall on your own data?
Training and
No, you need to split your data into training and testing, right? Okay. So that goes to my script in week 11. Okay. So basically, here what I did is basically I have. Okay. So basically it says I want one third of the data in training in testing and 2/3 of the data in training, right? So this is basically calculating how big is the 2/3 of the data. This is basically calculating how big is the 1/3 of the data. Okay, so you don't have to calculate this. You can say, oh, I opened the file, it has 1,000 rows, so I need 666 training data, 333 testing data. That's fine. Right? You don't have to calculate this by R. Make sense? Everyone's following me? Okay. So now what this does is basically, oh, I want to get randomly I pick 2/3 of the data as training data, the rest of the data as testing data. Okay? So who doesn't understand what's going on here? Everyone understand? Okay. Everyone understand? You can do this again. Yes.
But in this question, do we just split the training and the testing data once or
Once.
just-
You know you don't need to do tenfold. Okay, so I put it very clear here. Okay, so if you don't, I don't ask you to do tenfold. Okay, but if you want, you're more than welcome to do it. Yeah. Okay, so or you can say, oh, I open the input file. I manually select 2/3 of the data and put in a new file. I manually select 1/3 of the rest of file in the number. I'm okay. Okay, but you have 3 hours in the exam. Yeah. Yeah. So the point is, as long as you can answer the question and do it right, it's okay. Right? Okay, so now you have the training data and testing data. So which one do we use to train the model? Training, right? Okay, so now we train the model. So basically you go back. So everything is basically from the top. So independent training. So now everything is from this. I do everything the same until we build the model. Nope. So now we build a model with only the training data, right? I did nothing but only copy paste whatever we had before. Okay, same as correlation analysis, low core redundancy analysis, redundancy. Paste you paste the what's it called? You paste the formula, and then you build the model, right? Then you summarize the model. You want to remove everything that's garbage, right? So you have these. So you do the same thing. Then you say, oh, form equals to post but equal than 0 equals to size plus box. So you may notice this formula is different from the last one. It's not the same formula because your training data changes.
So the metrics are different.
Yeah. So you have to type this again. Mini discussion. Interactor. Right? Okay. I hope this is right. Okay. Right, so we build the model again. Post. Okay, so I build this model again, right? Okay, everything is significant, right? This is a new model. Only from the training data and the model. Yeah, and all the metrics, I type it, I only pick the metrics that's significant, right? Okay. So
You have to rewrite the form
yeah, I did rewrite the form. Form equals to this. Form equals
according to what?
according to p-value.
The training.
Only pick the p-values that's bigger than 0.05. So you always in your model always throw away the garbage metrics, right? So that will only influence the prediction results. Right? So only the metric is significant, then keep it. So basically what I did is basically we just go through this.
Can you roll back?
Yes. So basically, I just built a new model. The model is only from the training data. That's it. The exact same process as we did before in the last question. But instead of taking the entire data, I take the training data. Do we have other conclusions of this? Yes.
No, it's okay.
You good? Okay.
Can we stay on this for 1 minute? I'm just.
Yeah, go ahead. I give you 2 minutes.
Thank you. Can you go a little when we started the independent?
Yes, here.
Okay. So now we're going to use the training.
Yeah. So everything the same. I copy paste what I had before. Only change the data to training. That's what I only did.
We don't have to reduce the redundancy again. We don't have to.
You do. You do. It's here. Here. You see, you do the redundancy. It's everything the same. Everything from the top. Right, you do the correlation. You do the redundancy. Everything is the same as before. Okay? Yes. The job is the post bug.
Only the post.
Okay, so this question, so the answer to this question, the way to answer this question is very, 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 very similar to answer the last question. The only difference is, first, you take 2/3 of the data as training data. You only do the same thing on the training data. You do not take the entire data. Everyone's following? Okay. Are you done? You good? You good? Okay. Alright, so now we have a new model. The model is trained only from the training data. Everything is significant. Now we test the model on the testing data, right?
So same thing again.
Yeah, so we predict the model on the testing data. That's it. Then you have the predictions. Everyone understands what's going on? So we take the model is built from training data and then test it on the testing data. Predict it on the testing data, right? So now I have the predictions. Basically the predictions are the output of the model. The output of the model is the probability of that file has a bug. Right? The output model is probability, right? So if you see the predictions, it's just basically a bunch of probabilities, right? So go back to this. Okay. So now we calculate precision and recall, right? Precision is basically you predict it as buggy and it's actually buggy, right? What's you predicted to be buggy? Basically, the probability of having a bug is bigger than 50%. So basically, it says you have more chance to have a bug than the chance you do not have. Right?
So when we set this to 50%.
You don't have to. So this is the easiest. Okay, so because this is the introductory course, you don't have to. Okay, so in real life, what you need to do is you need to vary this threshold and see the impact. Since we have time. So in real life, what do people do? Okay, so in real life, people do a graph like this, and the x-axis is precision. The y-axis is recall. This is not real life, but it is basically if you want to go more advanced, you do this, right? Now you set the threshold. If you set the threshold to be 1, what will happen?
My recall.
Yeah, so basically recall is 1, so this is 1, right? This is 0, right? The precision is 0, right? If you set the threshold to be 0, then basically your precision is 1. Precision is 1, recall is 0, right? Then you're changing this threshold among these values. Right? So for example, you change your precision, so you change the threshold to be 0.5. Maybe your precision and recall, your precision is here, and recall is here, right? You have this. Then you change a little bit, and you say, oh, my threshold is 0.7, right? Then you have a higher precision here, a lower recall, right? Make sense? Okay. Then you try all the possibilities, and basically now you have a curve. You have a curve of this, right? Right? Then you basically yes.
It is not linear in any cases.
Of course, it's not linear. Yeah. And then what you do is basically you calculate the area of this. So this is called area under the curve. So this is area under the curve. In short, it's called AUC. So AUC's value is basically this area. Basically, the bigger the area, that means you're good, you're better, right? In the optimal case, you are always precision 1, recall 1. You're always here, right? But that's not gonna happen, right? So in most of the cases, you look like this. You have a curve look like this, right? So basically, you calculate this curve divided by the entire area. Then you have an AUC value. Basically, the AUC value is 0 to 1, right? The bigger the AUC value, the better your model is. Okay. But in reality, this value is never gonna be lower than 0.5. So if you take a random model, the random model will have a precision recall exactly like this. So if you have a random model, so everything is random, then you draw this line, the line will be exactly look like this. so it will be 0.5. Right? So in reality, you have a AUC value from 0.5 to 1. Right? So that will actually, yeah. So that's basically a better way to, that's basically you calculate precision recall. From precision recall, you get the AUC, right? Yeah, but this is not going to be covered in the exam. Yeah, but so later, so in any case, right? So people tell you, oh, my model is super good, have a very high precision, right? Then you may want to think, okay, so what's his recall, right? So sometimes you want to be super careful. So your precision is super high, and your recall is super low, right? But does that mean it's a better model than a low precision but a little bit higher recall? You cannot say that, right? To fairly compare two models with adjusting precision and recall, you use this curve. Anyways, okay, come back to the materials for the exam. Okay, so now you have the predictions, right? So basically now you calculate the precision. The precision is basically the prediction says you're buggy and you actually are buggy divided by everything that says you're predicting you to be buggy, right? This. Okay, so you predict to be buggy, you're actually buggy. How many you are, right? This is true positives. And precision is basically this, right? So precision is basically 0.65. Yeah. And recall is basically this. So for all the ones that you predicted to be buggy and the actually buggy divided by the ones that's actually buggy. Okay. So recall this. Okay, so you have a 6.5 precision and 5.3 recall. Okay.
It's not a good model. Linear model is not a good choice here.
Yeah, basically says okay, so this is a bad model, but okay.
But I guess.
Yes.
Doesn't it depend also on the seed that was set for the model? Because for me, I got the same thing and I got the precision is 0.76.
Of course, yeah, because this sample method. So this sample.
Yeah. Exactly.
Where is it? Yeah. So
we didn't
that's
start with the same seed. We have different.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you can have a bad precision recall. It's not your fault.
Yes.
That's why people do tenfold, because whatever the way you cut your data, they will impact your precision recall, right?
And this 0.5 is again arbitrary. So you but
Well, okay. So what you can always do, right? So if you really need high precision, right? The easiest way to trick this is just change the threshold. You say, oh, I only care about the ones that's bigger than 0.8, right? Then precision will be super high, right? Because only your model says more than 80% the chance you have a bug, you consider it actually has a bug. Right? But your recall will be super low. That's why it has this curve. When you increase the precision, you have lower recall. Right? So your recall will be 3.9, right?
Could you plot that one for this solution? No.
Are you sure? Sure, I can do this. Sure, I have time.
No, plotting automatically using.
Oh, automatically?
If you're.
There's a command. I have to search for it.
Okay.
No, it's okay. So yeah, I think if you search. Yeah, I think it's good.
那为什么这个也不知道是什么初音？这个它这个是把它分成这样分成了一个 training test 的一个 training 的 好像是个那个图，你看这个是70%，这是70%的，对。啊，这个是对，这是32%是 training， 然后1/3是 test， 然后这个是所有它看它整体来说，为什么要分开呀？我忘了他们说啥了，好对，我看看看。这
predictions.
我也不知道为什么。
Oh,
在
nice.
那篇论文上它是把它分成了
Thank you.
是吗？这里看，你的论文我忘了，好像是有一个。然后这
Yeah, so AUC is 0.89.
它没有
It's actually pretty good.
predict， 我也问过。
So that means it's very close to 1, right? Questions? I think I answered all the questions in my sample question.
You gave precision and recall
Yes.
to answer the question.
Yes.
How to link.
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah. So in the sample question you say, this is the way I calculate precision recall, and this is my precision, this is my recall. That's perfect. Yeah. There are other questions? Everyone's following what's going on? Okay. Okay, so I have a question. Okay. So let's say I have this data. This data I have a license code component, pre-release block, post-release block, and this post-release block. It has basically says if there's post-release block. Okay, so this is basically either 0 or 1, right? And this one I have the number of post-release blocks. Okay, so this is basically 0, 3, 2. So anything that you want to change from what I did before?
Logistic regression.
Yeah, so if you do modeling, what do you change? Anything you want to change? Anything that what I did, so if I just do the same thing, what would happen?
All those 3 amplifiers will be equal to 1.
Yeah. Okay, so I think both of these are independent. Are dependent, sorry. Both of these are independent. Okay, so when you remove dependent, you need to remove these two. Right? The first step what I did, I removed the dependent variables, right? So the thing is you want to use your independent variable to predict your dependent variable, right? If you do not remove both these two, you keep one in your independent variable. That means you're using this, predict this, they are the same thing, right? So you are cheating yourself. Everyone is understanding what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically I'll say it again, okay? So building a model is basically you have independent variables to predict or to model the dependent variables, right? So here we have two metrics. One is if there's a post-release block. The other one is the number of post-release blocks. They are essentially the same thing.
So dependent, you mean the correlation, high correlation?
Dependent basically what do you want to model?
Or just the meaning, the context, or you have to calculate that?
I'm not following what you're saying.